Imagine this. What if intelligence, the thing we glorify, chase, and define our worth by, wasn't a blessing at all? What if everything you've ever been told about its power, its prestige, and its promise of a better life was just an illusion? What if intelligence, at its core, is a curse, one that shackles you to a life of overthinking, existential torment, and deep, inescapable isolation? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might not want to be intelligent ever again. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of history's most unsettling philosophers, believed that intelligence was a double-edged sword, one that cuts deeper than we realize. He saw intelligence not as a pathway to happiness, but as a tragic flaw, a mechanism that amplifies suffering rather than alleviating it. His ideas challenge everything we think we know about intellect, success, and the pursuit of knowledge. Today, we unravel Schopenhauer's hidden truth about intelligence, what he discovered, why it matters, and how it could forever change the way you view your own mind. Schopenhauer wasn't interested in selling comforting illusions. While his contemporaries painted grand visions of human progress, he did the opposite. He looked directly into the abyss of human suffering and exposed the uncomfortable truths we prefer to ignore. Born in 1788 into a world riddled with uncertainty, he developed a philosophy rooted in one fundamental reality. Life is suffering, and the more intelligent you are, the more intensely you feel it. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that the more you understand the world, the more disillusioned you become? That the brighter your mind burns, the darker the shadows it casts? That's exactly what Schopenhauer meant. He argued that intelligence heightens awareness, but it also amplifies our sensitivity to pain, imperfection, and loss. Imagine standing in a crowded room, but instead of engaging in the shallow conversations around you, your mind is elsewhere, seeing through the illusions, feeling the emptiness, grasping the fleeting nature of everything. Others may be laughing, talking, indulging in life's distractions, but you're detached, analyzing, questioning, unable to unsee the cracks in the facade. This is the paradox of intelligence. It reveals truths, but in doing so, it isolates you from those who don't or can't see them. Schopenhauer's insight aligns closely with what modern psychology calls existential dread. The more you grasp the vastness of the universe and your own fleeting existence within it, the heavier the burden becomes. Those who lack intelligence can lose themselves in trivial pleasures, mindless entertainment, empty ambitions, fleeting successes, but the highly intelligent, they see through these distractions. And once you see through them, you can't unsee them. So what's the solution? Does this mean intelligence is a curse with no escape? Not exactly. Schopenhauer didn't advocate for ignorance, but he did warn against falling into the trap of thinking intelligence alone will bring happiness. He believed that many intelligent people waste their lives trying to think their way into fulfillment, analyzing, second-guessing, searching for meaning in a world that refuses to give them any. If you've ever spent sleepless nights trapped in thought loops, replaying conversations, regretting choices, fearing the future, congratulations. You've experienced what Schopenhauer called the curse of intelligence, a restless mind that refuses to rest, even when there is nothing left to solve. But here's where things take an unexpected turn. If intelligence is a double-edged sword, is there a way to wield it without being wounded by it? Schopenhauer believed there was, and his answer might surprise you. He argued that the antidote to intelligence-induced suffering is not more thinking, not more analyzing, but something completely different: tranquility. True peace, according to Schopenhauer, is found not in knowing more, but in detaching from the need to know it all. He believed that if we want to avoid being crushed by our intelligence, we must do three things. 1. Accept suffering as inevitable. Most people spend their lives trying to outthink suffering, avoiding it, numbing it, rationalizing it. But Schopenhauer tells us that suffering is not a mistake. It's the very fabric of existence. Instead of fighting it, we should accept it as part of life's rhythm. 2. Recognize the limits of understanding. No matter how intelligent we are, there will always be mysteries we cannot solve, answers we will never find, and truths that remain just out of reach. The pursuit of certainty is exhausting, and it never ends. By accepting the unknown, we free ourselves from the compulsion to always have an answer. 3. Seek meaning in simplicity, a sunset, a piece of music, a quiet moment of stillness. These are the things that even the most brilliant mind cannot improve upon. Schopenhauer believed that the greatest moments of life are the ones we experience without the need to intellectualize them. But there's one last radical piece to his philosophy. He believed that the ultimate path to freedom was not just in letting go of overthinking, but in letting go of the self itself. Think about it. The self, the I that craves, desires, suffers, is the source of all dissatisfaction. Eastern philosophies, particularly Buddhism, deeply influenced Schopenhauer. He believed that by dissolving the ego, we could escape the endless cycle of craving and suffering that intelligence so often magnifies. So what does this mean for you? Have you ever felt like your intelligence, your ability to see deeper, your constant drive to analyze, has made you more unhappy than fulfilled? Have you ever wished you could turn off your thoughts even for just a moment and find peace in simply being? Share your thoughts in the comments below. This is a conversation worth having. And remember, we're just scratching the surface. What Schopenhauer revealed next might change the way you see not only your own mind, but your entire existence. Stay with me, because what comes next will challenge everything you think you know about intelligence. Let's go deeper. We've uncovered Schopenhauer's unsettling truth about intelligence, how it isolates, torments, and magnifies suffering. But now comes the question that truly matters. How do we live with it? How do we navigate intelligence without letting it consume us? Schopenhauer believed that to understand intelligence, we need to examine its relationship with something even more fundamental, the will. To him, the will to live is the blind, ceaseless force that drives all existence. It compels every living thing to survive, to chase desires, to keep moving forward, not because there's a purpose, but because it simply cannot stop. Think about it. Why do people constantly crave more success, more knowledge, more meaning, only to find themselves unsatisfied the moment they achieve it? Why does happiness always seem just out of reach, no matter how much we accomplish? Schopenhauer argued that this is because we are all slaves to the will. We think we're making choices, but in reality, we are being pulled by hunger, by ambition, by emotion, by the relentless need to keep wanting. And the more intelligent you are, the more painfully aware you become of this cycle. Now here's where things take a dark turn. Most people are blissfully ignorant of the will's power. They chase after wealth, status, relationships, entertainment, believing that each next thing will bring lasting fulfillment. But for the highly intelligent, the illusion shatters. They see through the chase. They recognize that no matter how much they achieve, the will remains hungry. It is never satisfied. And this realization is what creates the deepest form of alienation. Imagine standing on the outside of human existence, watching everyone around you play a game that you now realize is unwinnable. The world moves forward, people chase their ambitions, celebrate their victories, mourn their losses. But you see the strings being pulled, and because you see them, you can no longer pretend. Schopenhauer believed this was the true price of intelligence, not just suffering, but disconnection. The more you understand life, the harder it becomes to feel at home in it. While others embrace distractions, you see emptiness. While others find meaning in social rituals, you question them. While others lose themselves in their desires, you remain painfully aware of their futility. So what now? If intelligence brings suffering and ignorance brings bliss, is there a way out? Schopenhauer believed there was, but it required a radical shift in perspective. The escape from suffering Schopenhauer didn't believe in traditional notions of happiness. To him, chasing happiness was like chasing the horizon. The closer you think you are, the further it moves away. Instead, he proposed something completely different, the quieting of the will. How do you quiet the will? 1. Detach from the illusions of desire. The first step is realizing that fulfillment will never come from the next achievement, the next success, the next relationship, or the next moment of pleasure. These things are temporary. They will fade. The intelligent person, instead of being trapped by them, must learn to observe them without attachment. 2. Seek refuge in art and philosophy. Schopenhauer believed that art is one of the few things that allows us to momentarily escape the will. When we immerse ourselves in music, literature, or beauty, we experience life without needing to own it, chase it, or consume it. For a brief moment, the will quiets, and we exist purely in the act of perception. Think about the last time you lost yourself in a song, a book, or a film, when time disappeared and you simply felt. That, Schopenhauer argued, is one of the rare glimpses of true peace we can experience. 3. Embrace compassion. Schopenhauer believed that the only thing capable of truly connecting us to others, despite the isolation intelligence brings, is compassion. When we recognize that everyone suffers, that all beings are caught in the same struggle, that pain is universal, we can stop seeing others as separate from ourselves. Instead of feeling superior or detached, the intelligent person can use their awareness to cultivate understanding, kindness, and connection. Not in a shallow, sentimental way, but in a way that acknowledges the deep suffering we all share. 4. Transcend the self. This is the most radical of Schopenhauer's ideas. He believed that the ultimate way to free oneself from suffering was not just to quiet the will, but to dissolve the self entirely. This idea was deeply influenced by Buddhist philosophy, which Schopenhauer studied extensively. The ego, the I that craves, fears, analyzes, is the root of suffering. By loosening our attachment to it, by letting go of our need to control, to own, to define ourselves, we free ourselves from the grip of the will. Imagine if for a moment you stop trying to be anything. Stop trying to prove yourself. Stop trying to solve every problem. Stop trying to grasp the ungraspable. Imagine simply being. That is what Schopenhauer believed was the closest thing to true peace. So what does this mean for you? If you've ever felt trapped in your own mind, overthinking, overanalyzing, unable to find peace, Schopenhauer's wisdom is a guide. His message isn't about rejecting intelligence, but about understanding its cost and learning to navigate it without being destroyed by it. So ask yourself, how much of your suffering comes from trying to control what cannot be controlled? How often do you chase something only to find that once you get it, you are just as restless as before? What would it feel like to simply let go, even for a moment, and exist without needing to solve, fix, or achieve anything? The final truth about intelligence. Schopenhauer's teachings reveal that intelligence can be a curse, but it doesn't have to be. It all depends on how we use it. If we let it consume us, it will. If we let it isolate us, it will. If we spend our lives trapped in overthinking, lost in analysis, unable to experience life directly, we will suffer. But if we learn to detach from the illusions, seek meaning in the present, embrace compassion, and ultimately let go of the ego's grip, intelligence becomes something else entirely. It becomes a key, not to suffering, but to liberation. The choice is yours. So tell me, does this resonate with you? Do you feel the weight of intelligence in your own life? Or have you found ways to quiet the mind and escape the endless chase? Let's continue the conversation in the comments, because these are the kinds of questions that don't just change minds, they change lives. And remember, sometimes the greatest power isn't in what we gain, but in what we learn to let go of. Make sure to subscribe to the Mind's Mirror channel. Don't forget to hit the like button. Share this video with those who need to hear this truth, and stay tuned for new content every day together. Let's continue the journey toward understanding growth in the pursuit of a more powerful life.